प्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरा भक्त वृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरा भक्त वृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरा भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जय गोविंद।
Jai Om Shnavad Punaman Supari Prajakacharya Ashtotra Sri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sakaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sriva Sadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kundigiri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Tham Ki Jai Navadip Tham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Gangamai Ki Jai Jamunamai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Brinda Ki Jai all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. And thank you, dear devotees, for joining this ISKCON of New Jersey's Zoom channel, where we'll be continuing the lecture series by His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj, broadcasting live from the Towaco Temple. So as always, it will be interactive sessions, so feel free to note your comments or questions in the chat box, or you can raise your hand, the raise hand feature, or you can just say that I have a question on the chat box, and we will try to accommodate everybody's comments and questions. Hare Krishna.
Mhm. I thought today I would go back to where we were in Srimad Bhagavatam. Is that all right?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimidandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurn Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Dadhati Shapadati Vandehang Shri Guru Shri Jatapadakamanam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savatutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Dalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kamshana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishabhanu Sute Vitevi Pranamami Hari Priya Mancha Kolpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Bhyevacha Tita Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktavan Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We were reading in Srimad Bhagavatam in the second canto, where Parikshit Maharaj was hearing from Sukadev Goswami about the beginning of God realization. The Sukadev Goswami had begun to, he described meditation on the limbs of the body of the Lord, beginning from the feet. And now he'll begin describing the universal form of the Lord. We're at, I'm sorry, I didn't write it for you, 2:124. Visheshas tasya deho yang stavishtascha stavishtascha staviyasam yatredam vyajate vishvam bhutam bhavyam bhavachasat. The gigantic manifestation of the phenomenal material world as a whole is the personal body of the absolute truth, wherein the universal resultant past, present, and future of material time is experienced. Purport: anything either material or spiritual is but an expansion of the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and as stated in the Bhagavad Gita 13:14, the omnipotent Lord has his transcendental eyes, heads, and other parts distributed everywhere. Sarvata panipadam tat sarvatokshi shiromakam sarvata shutimal loke sarvamavritya tishtati. He can see, hear, touch, or manifest himself anywhere and everywhere, for he is present everywhere as the supersoul of all infinitesimal souls. Although he has his particular abode in the absolute world. The relative world is also his phenomenal representation, because it is nothing but an expansion of his transcendental energy. Although he is in his abode, his energy is distributed everywhere, just as the sun is localized as well as expanded everywhere, since the rays of the sun, being non-different from the sun, are accepted as expansions of the sun disk. In the Vishnu Purana 122:56, it is said that as fire expands its rays and heat from one place, similarly, the Supreme Spirit, the Personality of Godhead, expands himself by his manifold energy everywhere and anywhere. The phenomenal manifestation of the gigantic universe, Virat Rupa, is only part of his body. So here we're discussing, we've heard earlier that to capture the effects of the 10th canto, to understand the pastimes of the Lord's exchanges with his internal devotees, we have to understand who the Lord is. We have to understand something of the truth of the Lord's nature, his energies. And that is coming here, or starting here. Vishesha tasya deho yam stavishta stavaniyasam. So for the pantheist, or the person who begins to see some divine presence everywhere, who begins to see perhaps that there's who feels himself to be a part of something greater, this guidance is being provided. That just think of the cosmic manifestation, the universe, as being the body of the Lord. Think of it as being the body of the Lord. Yatridam vyajate vishvam, in which the whole universe is present. One time, Srila Prabhupada was asked whether the universal form, as shown to Arjuna, was just for this universe or whether it included all the universes. And Prabhupada said, one universe is enough for you. So this universal form is the form of the universe as far as we can comprehend it. And it's Srila Prabhupada will unfold in the coming text how it is that everything can be seen in relationship to a divine being who is ultimately personal. He's everywhere by his energies, first of all. Ekadesha sthitasya Jyotsna vistarani yata Parusha Brahmana Shakti Tateram Akilam Jagat. This much we know, that there's energy everywhere. Science is busy studying all sorts of energy, atomic energy, electrical energy, hydraulic energy, solar energy. We know that there are all sorts of energies in the everywhere around us. But a thoughtful person will ask, what is the source of these energies? What is the ultimate nature of reality, the reality in which all these energies are a part? And in this section of Srimad Bhagavatam, we're given some guidance. Our meditation or our questioning is being guided in such a way that we'll come to the personal conception of the absolute truth. Bhutam pavyam bhavachai sat. The material world has not only spatial dimensions, but temporal dimensions. It's interesting, actually, to think about. First of all, there's all this huge expansion of space all around us, filled up with all sorts of objects and all sorts of things, all varieties of things, phenomena. The phenomenal material world, it has phenomena, things that you experience. And then it has this other dimension. It has past, it has present, it has future. And that in itself is something quite impenetrable. If we ask ourselves, why is there time? How does time come into existence? Or how is it that time rules everything, which it does? Nothing moves, nothing changes, nothing goes anywhere, nothing happens without time. The present has to move into the future, or has to give way to the future as the present moves into the past. So the universe as it is now is different from the universe as it was when we began the class. By the end of the class, it'll be a different universe. Everything's changing. So what is the nature of time, and how is it controlling everything? This is also a great topic for meditation, for thought, for those of us who think that we're somehow in control of things. Time itself is something inconceivable. Nobody can quite grasp and manipulate time. To some extent, with time management, maximize your time, make the best use of your time. But finally, time controls. No one can control time. So that appears in this verse. Less intelligent men cannot conceive of the transcendental, all-spiritual form of the Lord, but they're astounded by his different energies, just as the Aborigines are struck with wonder by the manifestation of lightning, a gigantic mountain, or a hugely expanded banyan tree. The Aborigines praise the strength of the tiger and the elephant because of their superior energy and strength. Notice here that we're being compared to the Aborigines. The great scientists of the world, the great thinkers of the world, are astonished by the different energies of the Lord. They're astonished by something great in nature, whether it's volcanoes or solar flares or oceanic movements or the intricate workings of butterflies. These are all wonderful things, the wonders of nature. So where people in general are fascinated or astonished or impressed by nature's power, but the Asuras cannot recognize the existence of the Lord, although there are vivid descriptions of the Lord in the revealed scriptures. Although the Lord incarnates and exhibits his uncommon strength and energy, and although he is accepted as the supreme personality of Godhead by learned scholars and saints like Vyasadeva, Narada, Asita, and Devala in the past, and by Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, as also by the Acharyas like Shankara, Ramanuja, Madhva, and Lord Sri Chaitanya in the modern age. The Asuras do not accept any evidential proof from the revealed scriptures, nor do they recognize the authority of the great Acharyas. They want to see with their own eyes at once. Therefore, they can see the gigantic body of the Lord as Virat, which will answer their challenge. And since they're accustomed to paying homage to superior material strength, like that of the tiger, elephant, and lightning, they can offer respect to the Virat Rupa. Lord, yes. So that we'll find here that we're gradually, and this is sort of higher level science, the ordinary punk scientists or ordinary clerk level scientists are busy doing sort of very routine work to satisfy the needs of their employers. But the top level scientists are the ones who wonder about these questions. The greatest physicists, the greatest mathematicians, the greatest scientists of all sorts can wonder about what is it that I'm dealing with here in the greater sense, in the ultimate sense. So that's being presented here in terms of the universal form. Lord Krishna, by the request of Arjuna, exhibited his Virat Rupa for the Asuras. A pure devotee of the Lord, being unaccustomed to looking into such a mundane, gigantic form of the Lord, requires special vision for the purpose. The Lord therefore favored Arjuna with special vision for looking into his Virat Rupa, which is described in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Well, that's a very interesting take on things. We generally think that the Virat Rupa is so wonderful, so incredible, so unusual that the Lord had to give special eyes to Arjuna, Divyam Dadami Te Chakshu. And that is how it's presented. But here's another take on it, that Arjuna didn't want to see it. He's interested in the personal form, and therefore to see the Virat Rupa, to see Krishna in that way, required special vision. This Virat Rupa of the Lord was manifested especially not for the benefit of Arjuna, but for that of the unintelligent class of men who accept anyone and everyone as an incarnation of the Lord, and so mislead the general mass of people. So here there's going to be a further discussion. I think I won't read everything. We know that we can challenge any so-called God, show us your universal form. That they can't do. They can only bluff. The Virat Rupa manifestation of the Lord is a challenge to the atheist and a favor for the asuras, who can think of the Lord as Virat and thus gradually cleanse the dirty things from their hearts in order to become qualified to see the transcendental form of the Lord in the near future. This is a favor of the all-merciful Lord to the atheists and the gross materialists. Are there any questions here so far? Or comments? Questions, comments? Oh, I have a chat box I haven't looked at. Let's see what's going on here.
One from Katya.
Is worshiping the Virat Rupa the same as pantheism? Well, let's say that it's directed pantheism. The way Srila Prabhupada explained pantheism in previous verses, but the way it's generally understood, is sort of the perception of divinity everywhere. We have people who, there's sort of our modern ecological world, there's a Gaia, the Gaia people, you know, who see the earth as a goddess. Or there's the, as Prabhupada said here, the Aborigines who worship a mountain or lightning. They're impressed by that. So there's a sort of perception that there's some greater thing. I gave the example that when you visit Niagara Falls, which I had the occasion to do some time back, you see this enormous power, and it really is, what's the word, awe-inspiring, or you have the feeling that you're just a little small creature amidst this enormous power. How many gallons and gallons, or I don't know what you measure it in, how much water is cascading over those falls at every moment, and the human beings pick up a little bit of it and use it for electricity, but it's enormous. So a person who's a little sensitive or a little fortunate, a little philosophically inclined, picks up this idea that there's a kind of divinity to nature. And even we see the demigod worshippers, that they see nature as supreme. And I won't quote, but they look to nature as being the greatest. They have a conception of greatness, in other words. Ordinarily, we're just concerned with our own little selves and our own little concerns and our own desires or thoughts or objectives, ambitions. But if one is thoughtful, he's impressed by the wonders of nature. So you have National Geographic magazine with its full page, colorful pictures of wonderful things in nature. You have Sequoia National Park. In fact, our national parks are of this nature, of this type, that they introduce us to, or they give us access to, they satisfy our desire to be in touch with these incredible things. Sequoia National Park, those trees are so gigantic. And with the sun making its way through the leaves, you look up and you say, wow. Or the Yosemite with its volcanic activity. So people pay money for this. They pay money to be in touch with nature. They walk the Appalachian Trail. So this is pantheism, to see a kind of divinity or greatness everywhere. It moves into pantheism. It can just be materialism, gross and simple. But with a little good fortune, there's a tendency to be impressed, a tendency to feel oneself small and insignificant in the presence of something greater. So that pantheism is sort of taken as a start, as a seed, as something great. And then comes the Virat Rupa. The pantheism is below the Virat Rupa, because the Virat Rupa is going to introduce us to this divinity in a personal form. It's taking us the next step up. It's taking us the next step up. It's saying, okay, here we are. We're awed by this divinity that we see all around us, by this power of nature that we see all around us, by some of the exceptional things that nature presents to us. We admit our smallness before this greater power. Now let me take you by the hand and paint for you a picture. Let me paint for you a picture in which these wonders of nature, these varied manifestations of nature, these powerful energies of nature are part of a kind of divine being. Just go with that for a while. Meditate on that. Think of that. That's the Virat Rupa. So it's one step up from a sort of diffuse impersonal pantheism. And that diffuse impersonal pantheism is one step up from just gross exploitive materialism, in which we say, wow, here it all is. How much of it can I get? What can I do with it? How can I enjoy it? Higher than that is a sort of reverence, a kind of reverence for nature. Was that somebody's motto, Albert Schweitzer? No, reverence for life, okay. But a kind of reverence for nature. So reverence means a sort of, what would you say, the beginning of devotion, of a devotional sentiment, or of a touch of an acknowledgement that there's something so much greater than us and capable or deserving to be known as divine. So that's your pantheism. But Sukadeva Goswami is pulling us along to see these energies and manifestations as having a personal dimension. And from there, and that purifies our consciousness. That's part of it. That it's not just an exercise. It's not just a meditation. But this meditation, this exercise, this engagement of our minds with matter, which is what we're accustomed to engaging our minds in, but this engagement with matter in a certain way, in a guided theistic pattern, will purify our consciousness. It will gradually purify our consciousness, because now we're in touch with Krishna. it may not be Krishna dancing in Goloka Vrindavan or in Vrindavan, the groves of Vrindavan, but it's Krishna, because these material energies are also Krishna, and they're being presented to us in a embryonic personal way. It's the beginning of a personal realization. It's later Prabhupada will say that it's really imaginary, because the Lord doesn't have feet made of planetary systems and other body parts made of different material things. But this conception of a universal form puts us in touch in the preliminary way with Krishna. So therefore, the first step in God realization. Is that okay? Okay.
Maharaj, I found it interesting in one of the purports, Prabhupada calls the universal form a godless display of opulence.
Yes, a godless display of opulence, because we're looking at matter here, and impressive matter, especially the universal form at Kurukshetra, brighter than 10,000 suns and all of that. So it's really quite the show. Quite the show. And people are, even without being able to see the universal form, they're in awe of material power and material things, or they're fascinated by material problems. How is it the relationship of different energies of matter to other energies, mathematical relationships between different physical entities. These things can become obsessive. And I'm not saying that pejoratively, but people become absorbed in thinking, how to figure out something like pi and its relationship to a circle and all of that. Absorbed in the just the nature of material existence. But that's complete materialism. I'm only fascinated with matter. That's material life. So, but if there's some good fortune in one's background, or if one comes in touch with devotees, then one can gradually be promoted. First, if one is fortunate, one can have this sort of reverence and for nature, and then that reverence can be further developed into a personal conception, which is what Shukadeva Goswami is providing here for the gross materialists, really. The devotees, if you're interested in serving Krishna by in one of the different rasas, or if you're interested in related to having being absorbed in hearing and chanting and speaking about Krishna, remembering Krishna, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, then you don't need to be taken by the hand and introduced to a universal form. But still, because we're not in the category of spontaneous devotees, give me a chance and I'll be spontaneously interested in matter. So therefore, Shukadeva Goswami, for our benefit and for the benefit of those who are not yet on the devotional path, is being, I forget how I started the grammar of this sentence, but yeah, for the benefit of everyone, this form is being introduced. Is that okay? Okay. And yeah, so Madan Gopal Prabhu has posted that devotees not that interested in a godless display of opulence. But everyone else is interested in material things. So even in the 10th chapter, the same thing. Keshu keshu chubhaveshu chintyosi bhagavan maya. How can you be thought of in terms of material things? Because that's where our minds are. Our minds are in matter. And the project is, how do we get our minds out of matter, or how do we help others get their minds out of matter and into spirit, and then further into the personality of Godhead? We're really stuck in matter. How are we going to come to the higher platform? So that's the project here that Sukadeva Goswami is undertaking. And he's starting right here with our engagement in material things and connecting that, just connecting that to a spiritual conception of personal divinity. And Panchatattva Prabhu has cut and pasted a section from my book. All right, this is relevant actually, because we're talking about time. Bhuta Bhava. What is that Bhuta Bhava? Part of scrolling is you can't be everywhere at once. Bhuta Bhava. I'm completely lost. Now I see. Okay. Bhutam bhavyam bhavachasat. So in this universal form, everything's there, including time, the past, the present, the future. So in the book of Ecclesiastes in the Bible, it's said that that for everything there's a purpose and a time that for everything there's a season and a time to every purpose under heaven. And then there's a time for everything, and that's described in beautiful poetic language, actually. So then I've commented, we find ourselves stuck with having to regard time as irreducible and inconceivable, beyond our power to fully understand. It always was and always will be. It was here before we were here, and will still be here once we are gone, ruling the life of every atom, every star and galaxy, every microbe and king. It is all powerful. Every philosopher and every scientist must stand within the limits of time. It objectively exists. We see its effects everywhere. And yet we can't quite put our finger on it, can't quite figure out what it is. Everything has its origin within time, yet time, limitless and all-pervading, seems to have no origin beyond itself. And so time is God. In the Bhagavad Gita, Kalosmi loka kshayakrit pravriddho. Krishna, Arjuna sees the universal form turning destructive. All the soldiers at Kurukshetra are being devoured within the mouths of the universal form. Everything is entering into his mouth like waves entering into an ocean, or waves in the ocean. Vitanadi Nam, rivers entering into an ocean. So then who are you? And the Lord says, yes, I'm time. Loka Kshayakrit, the destroyer of the worlds. So those who are trying to understand the nature of existence, the nature of reality, who puzzle over such fundamental things as time, are advised here to see time within the universal form. Samarpan, universal form is godless display of opulences, and it is material form. Still, this chapter comes as in Bhakti section of Bhagavad Gita, and it's the biggest chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So it appears very important for devotees to understand this form properly. Is this the proper understanding? Yes, of course, when you think about it, well, yes, first of all, because we want to understand Krishna. And understanding Krishna means not understanding Krishna the way the mental speculators understand him, as some sort of mythical hero or this or that, but to understand that this is Krishna, the person whose energies are manifest as the material world. So the same Krishna's sitting on the chariot with Arjuna can display all of these things in one place. Ihai custom jagat krishnam pashyadya sacharajana mamadehe gurakesh yachanyad drashtamit to see. Whatever you want to see, it's all in this form. And it's all manifest in one place. Ihai custom, ekastam, in one place. Everything in the universe, as far away as the farthest planet, is right here. That Krishna could show. So it's a godless display of opulence in the sense that how do we have loving exchanges with the universal form? Certainly, Yashoda Maya is not going to take the universal form on her lap. The gopis are not going to embrace the universal form. Cowherd boys are not going to play with the universal form. And yet the same person who includes within himself this universal form is dancing with the gopis, playing with the cowherd boys, sitting on the lap of Yashoda Maya. So these understandings, bhakti is not just sentiment, but it means understanding Krishna as he is. And therefore, part of that very large chapter is not just a description of all the powerful things Krishna is showing, but there's also Arjuna's expression, his prayers. There are two sets of prayers that Arjuna offers to the Lord in the 11th chapter. So from those prayers, there's so much understanding that we can get of Krishna's nature. And that makes us humble. We should, seeing the universal form, we should become humble. And that humility also is an essential element of bhakti. Well, these are some thoughts in answer to your question. Something else? Katya says, happily, my dear Arjun, happily have I shown you by my internal potency the supreme universal form within the material world. No one before you has ever seen this primal form, unlimited and full of glaring effulgence. Why is it said that only Arjuna has seen it, and by internal potency? In answer to the first question, why only Arjuna? Krishna has shown his universal form in different ways. When Krishna was in the assembly hall of the Kauravas, he'd gone there on a peace mission to try to persuade Duryodhana and company to make peace with the Pandavas. Then Duryodhana arrogantly thought that he could arrest Krishna, have Krishna arrested. And then Krishna showed his universal form. Go ahead and arrest me. Let's see you do it. So he showed a universal form that dwarfed all of them and ended that thought. But Prabhupada comments that universal form was different from the universal form shown here. So this was the first time that this one was shown. I was hearing from Indra Dunamaj today, there are different rasa dances that Krishna performs. And we're used to the one described in the Krishna book. But at different seasons, he has the other rasa dances that he performs. But still the one that we read about, that's distinct. So similarly, coming back down to the manifestation of Krishna within the universe, he shows different universal forms. He showed to Maya also, the whole universe within his mouth. That was also possible. But here, this was the first time. Internal potency. Finally, everything is done by Krishna's internal potency. Yes. Why by internal potency? For Krishna, everything is done by his internal potency. Even the external potency is a portion of his internal potency. Vishnu Shakti Paraprokta. Finally, everything is Krishna's energy, and his energy is all transcendental. But then it's divided for our understanding into the spiritual potency, the material potency, and the marginal potency. But here Krishna showed everything. This was possible by his internal potency. It also hints that it's meant to bring us to devotional service. It's meant to bring us to devotional service. I hope that's okay. Yeah. Samarpan says, I heard that one Western scientist had visited BI years back, and he happened to visit on request of devotee Tirupati. And he shared his realization that he felt great quantum of energy when he took darshan of Lord Venkateshwara. So karmis see and experience energy within Bhagavan, whereas Srila Prabhupada near Niagara Falls experiences Krishna's presence and display of energy. But just to clarify, it was me that went to Niagara Falls, not Srila Prabhupada. And my experience, I'm sure, wasn't on the level of his experience. But yes, the fortunate scientist, if he was actually able to take darshan of Lord Venkateshwara, could experience something great. Even I went to one time the Blue Mosque in Istanbul, and there's no deity there. very, Islam is rigid about that, adamant that no form of God should be presented. That would be sacrilegious. But the building itself, the mosque itself, is of such a grand nature that you can almost feel it hum. It's of such a grand nature, especially the proportions, the dimensions of it, and its dedication to a sacred purpose, just put you in a certain, what would you say, small, put you in a place of smallness in relationship to this greatness that you see surrounding you. Even though we would consider it impersonal, where's the deity? But still there's that sense that there's a divinity here. You go out on the street and there's big buildings, and there's, now maybe much bigger buildings than the Blue Mosque, but there's something inspiring in a divine way about a building like the Blue Mosque, even though it's impersonal. Even I went to what is that? Tanjore, Brihad Ishra Mandir. It's a temple of Lord Shiva. And again, there's this bigness of it. Not just the structure, but the way it's laid out. It has this very large sort of courtyard with space around it. And that, again, the complex is so laid out that you feel it's almost like the way you feel if you get near a generator, one of these big dynamos or something. You feel like you're in some sort of divine presence. And the buildings are constructed that way. There's a divine consciousness, they're meant to invoke our divine consciousness. But just the architecture is like that. And then, of course, the deity consents to appear in a way that can attract our devotion. And in this case, even the fortunate scientist felt that there was a quantum of energy when he saw the Lord, which there certainly would be. So these are all opportunities for the materialist to experience what he experiences with his senses, especially to experience the phenomena of the material world, but to have it click into a larger picture, to help him get unstuck from his worldly view of everything, and to appreciate that there's something greater here that I'm dealing with. Even when I'm dealing with just matter, when I'm dealing with earth, when I'm dealing with water, when I'm dealing with fire and air, there's something greater here. I can't exactly explain it. I can't exactly understand it, but I'm dealing with something greater. That's an opportunity to begin a spiritual journey. Is that okay, Samarpan? Okay, we are at 8:55, and unless there's anything else, we could hand it over to Mr. Gopal.
Thank you, Maharaj. And thank you, everyone. So just wanted to make the usual announcements. Let me just share my screen real quick. As you know, Maharaj has been teaching this or conducting this Vanaprastha Adventure course. So this is the link for it. And this is only on Thursdays from 7 to 8. 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And specifically on the topic of exploring Vanaprastha, what is the teachings around it, and what are some practical aspects. It's a very lively discussions. So if you're interested, you can definitely join on this link. That link can be found on Maharaj's website. Do visit the website. It has lots of very useful information. If you go to About, and you'll see all these different links over here. Nice informative articles to read. If you'd like to make contribution to Maharaj, you can do it very easily on his website. Also strongly recommend the book Vanity Karma that Maharaj has authored a few years ago. Very popular book, so you can order that from his website as well. So it's under About and Travel and Online Schedule, and you can find the link to this class, which is here, and the Vanaprastha Adventure over here. All the recordings of this particular class are found on our YouTube page, and all the recordings we've had since we started this program back in March. We have now almost 200 of them. And of course, wanted to update you on our new temple. So construction is started on that. We're doing well. Parsippany Temple, and if you're interested in contributing to it, you can go to our ISKCON and we have a GoFundMe account. We have raised actually more than this now. This is an old number. I think like more than 31,000. We have raised quite a bit, and in the past we raised more than 4 million, or about 4 million, and spent it on the background work and digging and all that underground stuff. So whatever little you can pitch in, that'll be appreciated. Then you can always come and visit. Now tomorrow, His Holiness Sachinandan Swami is going to kick off a very interesting program. It's a joint program organized by Bhakti Center as well as our Towaco Temple, Central New Jersey, and ISKCON Brooklyn and Gitanagari. So we're working together to coordinate this. It's called A Life in Bhakti, a philosophical and experiential journey into the core practices of Bhakti. So it's a 6-session course. There's no charge for it. You can make a note of this, the Zoom link. You can join via Facebook or Zoom. Of course, if you don't have time to memorize this link, you can find it on our website, iskonofnewjersey.org. So that's 9 a.m. here Eastern Time tomorrow, and every Saturday for the next 6 Saturdays. And then on this channel here, we have tomorrow evening His Grace Gauranga Prabhu on the pastimes of Bali Maharaj, 5 lessons in independence. So this is meant to be held on this last Saturday, which is actually Independence Day, hence the topic. So we moved it this Saturday. And this is jointly coordinated with ISKCON Round Rock in Texas. And then on Sunday evening, Radhika Raman Prabhu at 8 p.m. also on the topic of appreciating Srila Prabhupada's rendition of the Shad Goswami Ashtakam. So as you know, Radhika Raman Prabhu is a scholar in Sanskrit, and he's also a very deep practitioner in Bhakti. And when he teaches the Sanskrit aspects of our prayers, it really gets into the rasa or the taste of the prayers. It's really wonderful. You definitely don't want to miss that. And I want to thank all the senior devotees who joined this evening. And I also want to request His Grace Neelmani Prabhu to kindly offer the closing thanks remarks. Then we can open up for everyone else for a quick greeting. Neelmani Prabhu, if it's there. Let's see, Neelmani Prabhu. I don't know if he's somehow it's not able to connect. Okay. There you go. Oh, there you go. Okay, go ahead, Neelmani Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you again, Maharaj, for a very nice class on Vishwarup and linking Bhagavad Gita to Bhagavatam and relating how we can understand Krishna through his Virat Rup. Thank you so much, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Neelmani Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Very well. Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj.
Krishna Maharaj Pranam.
Thank
Hare
you,
Krishna,
Maharaj.
Hare Krishna,
Dandavat
Jai.
Pranam, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Oh, Jai.
Thank you.
Hallelujah.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you. Dandavat Pranam.
हाँ, चालू करो किधर बंद
Vanitas, vanitatum, omnia vanitas.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Haribo.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Damashta.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Haribo, Vrindavan Chandra. This is the modern age. We greet one another on Zoom, even though we're down the hall from one another.
The ultimate social distancing.
All right.
Thank you very much.